Empty tubs, pile of tools, sort of clean desk can only mean one thing. It's time to restore another car. And here it is. I've chosen to do the Terra Scorcher first out of the, if you saw the video on the channel of the selection of 4 cars I bought for £70, this is probably the most complete and my favourite of the 4. So I've chosen to restore it, but there are actually several reasons why I've chosen to. Reason one is a few of you have commented to say you like this car, so thank you for the comments. I do read them all, and I do reply to some of them even. Secondly, it's a very special car for me because it's my first ever Tamiya car way back when, probably in the mid-90s, maybe the early 90s. I bought a second-hand one and started racing it and loved it, raced it for many years, and it taught me a lot about these cars. So they have a very special place for me, these cars. And thirdly, and probably most practically, it is the most complete car. I'm not planning on doing anything radical with it other than stripping and rebuilding it because it is so lovely and original. It's not in the greatest of conditions, you can probably see, but it is all there and it's all original, which I really love, and I want to try and preserve as much originality as I can. I may even preserve the original radio gear and controls and stuff. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is I live in the UK. It rains. I live in the southwest of the UK, and it rains probably 364 days a year. That means I can't get outside and paint cars at the moment, and I don't like doing it indoors for the fumes and stuff. So things like the Grasshopper project have had to be put on hold until the weather improves, which I expect it to do so probably in the next month or two. So I thought, whilst I'm waiting for the weather to improve and warm up a bit so I can do some painting outside, I'm going to start another car. And this one, I don't actually think I'm going to paint it at all. This shell is so original. It's not brilliant, but it's very original. I think it will clean up, and I think the whole car will look pretty nice when it's done. It's in the correct shade of blue. I don't like the blue, but you know, at least it is the original box art, and the stickers are even quite well preserved. There's a couple of sort of flappy bits, but other than that, it's pretty good. Now, I haven't seen this car really at all. I think I've taken the shell off once just to check it's all there, and that was at very much a glance, but it does all look original. So I'm as excited as potentially you are. You may not be excited, but I am excited to get cracking on this one. It's going to be a lot of work because, as I said, the car really is not in great condition. We can see here lots of corrosion. I don't think it's really been used much. I think it has just been sat somewhere, stored somewhere damp, maybe in a damp loft or a shed or a garage or something, and it's come out. The tyres are all dry rotted and everything's a bit corroded, but I'm confident, quietly confident, that we can clean this one up and make it beautiful again. So yeah, let's get cracking. Now, I've just stopped the video here because I really want to try and show you, if you've not seen a Terra Scorcher before, I just want to show you what high-end kit this is. I say high-end, it's not exactly an Avanti or an Egris, but for the money, these come with loads and loads of sort of parts standard that really are quite impressive. If you look at these suspension joints, for instance, they're all like rose jointed. Look, you can see that little rose joint in there that allows sort of full flex, and they're all fully adjustable. You know, you have these fully adjustable arms and loads of different suspension settings. Just thought I'd mention that because this really is a high-end kit. The other thing that I will mention is And this is definitely original. Look, ball race. These came as ball raced as standard, which was quite unusual back in the day. If you compare it to something like a VQS or the Vanquish as it was named back then, the Vanquish really was an overpriced piece of junk, in my opinion, like a really inferior version of an Avanti. I have no idea why they cost so much, because they probably cost a bit more than one of these, if anything. And my understanding with the Vanquish was it wasn't ball raced, it didn't have a lot of these adjustable parts as standard. So really, this was an absolute bargain, this car. I just wanted to show you that, because I forgot, actually, taking this apart, I actually forgot just how beautifully adjustable these are. There's so much adjustment on these. It's brilliant. And the other thing that's worth noting, which I will just pop out now, if I can, it's a bit stuck in there, I think, is another nice feature. This one is lovely because it's covered in fur and hair and everything. Someone else's hair there on my fingers. Universal joints on the front, drive shafts, look, universal UJs on the front, again a lovely option. Now these are different to the re-release one. Maybe we'll have a look at those in a bit more detail. They have the new type shafts, but these really were very highly specified cars. Very impressed by that. Right, anyway, onwards. Let's get it apart. Next bit, really, I'm just stopping on. It's very hard to tell at this stage. Now, this is the infamous A5 part, which is notoriously prone to breaking on these. And I think we have some damage on this one already that I can see. So this is generally a, this is really an upgrade part. It's you can buy upgraded bits for these, and actually, it's just a total no-brainer just to buy one. Because they, oh, that's very stiff. That hasn't been out in a long time. Very corroded as well. They just break. These parts are very weak, and they can wreck the chassis as well. I seem to remember putting a chassis on mine back when I had one back in the day, and I used to race it, and I used to break chassis. Not often, but I think I got through one or two in quite a long time, so I was a reasonably careful racer, to be honest. I'll take this brace off. This looks slightly damaged as well. It looks like someone's had a go at putting another hole in it. So we'll just check this one out. So yeah, you can buy an upgrade part for these. It's about £10, I think. It looks like we may be buying one because this one is damaged. What I might do is buy the upgrade part for my re-release version. Yeah, look at that. Look, someone's had a go at drilling a new hole in that for some reason. Or it's either worn through. I'm not entirely sure what's happened there. I might have a spare one of them from my original kicking about the place. But this is the part. Let's try and zoom it in a bit. This is the part that damages here. And actually we can see on this one, we've got some damage here, this is broken, and this side is following quite nicely. So I think a new one of them is going to be needed. So I would like to put the plastic standard A5 piece from my re-release on this, and I think I will put the upgraded part on the re-release Scorcher, because this is not really going to get driven, this one. I'm going to restore it, and then it's going to live on a shelf. And the reason for that is very simple. They're just very, very old now. And they, old Tamiyas, by all means, buy one, run it, restore it and run it, for sure. Get them running, great. You're never going to be thrashing an old Tamiya like this anymore, because they are too fragile, too old, too fragile. Shock mount off, just taking the anti-roll bar out. These are quite cute as well. I like these anti-roll bars on these things, because they have this rather unique system. Oh, that's actually on the ball joint, isn't it? I need to pop that off at the bottom. I have this rather unique system with these little, I used to cut these little pieces to size and screw them on to the anti-roll bar threads just to hold them in place. Just a really smart, lovely little design. This smart design. But the more I'm taking apart, the more I am starting to see there's quite a few problems with it. If we just focus in on this, if I can get it to, now we can see some cracking here in this front gearbox casing. So there may be some parts to buy for this, which is, you know, expected and actually not as horrendous as you might think, because fortunately, like I said, this has been re-released. The Thundershot has, the Fire Dragon has, pretty much all the cars in this series have been re-released quite recently. So parts, I wouldn't say they're plentiful, but I would say they are not as difficult to find as you might be imagining. So, right, anyway, let's get this front end stripped down and we'll have a look at it in more detail. Okay, so that's the front suspension stripped down. Quite complicated, a bit messy as well. This is really in a very poor state, but now we're actually in a situation where the gearbox is effectively exposed and we can remove the gearbox. Again, nice feature of this car, it is effectively just screwed in underneath here. We can actually let the gearbox out, and then we can assess this chassis there. I think from memory, I don't know if we need to take the steering mechanism off first. I think from memory there's only about 4 screws holding this in. It used to be one of the nice things about this car was you could take the gearboxes apart quite easily without too much drama. It's quite modular, I suppose you could say, in its construction. So 2 screws either side. So I tell a lie, there's a 3rd screw there, probably one on the other side. It's been a long time since I've actually built one of these. Even my re-release one was built probably 3 years ago. So you tend to forget these things, but I've probably taken this car apart more than any other Tamiya I've owned, just because I race so much. You can see a crack in the chassis as well, which is disappointing. Not sure. It looks actually very weak. There you go, it's just come off. But that said, we might just be able to bodge that up. Oh, hello. Unusually, we've got a wrong screw here. So someone's put the wrong screw in. I've obviously lost the original. It's interesting because if you look inside these drive shafts, cups, can you see how fresh those bushes are in there? I can get it to. Can you see how red and fresh and clean they are? It's as though someone's had a little go at it. And that's the gearbox freed from the car. I'm not going to take it apart just yet. I'm going to strip it all down first, and then we'll do these in isolation. So we'll take the gearbox units off, and then we'll have them apart and see if we can get them to sing again. Diff is quite stiff, not necessarily a bad thing, especially on the front one. But the gearbox actually feels pretty smooth. Again, it's probably got the original Tamiya bearings in it, which are of a high quality. So I guess now really next job is to take this back end apart. these very crusty screws holding the wing on. If that's dust or crust. Sorry, let's try and get that so you can see it. Just going to pop this ring off. Now, I have to say, while I'm doing this bit, before we speed it up again, I was never a fan of the wing of this car. The original wing on this car I thought was a bit unattractive, really, and a bit pointless. They do look better, in my opinion, with a sort of regular shaped wing, I suppose you could say, something like off a top force or maybe an Astute or something. And that's what I'm going to put on my re-release. Oh, I dropped his Tamiya self-tapper. Pick that up in a moment. However, on this one, because it's so original and because it's so lovely and genuine, this is going to keep. I'm going to keep the original shell, which I think will clean up. We'll do a bit of cleaning up. I don't know. It won't probably be in this episode. I'm probably going to split this down into a few episodes, like what I did with the grasshopper. But the rebuild of this is going to be far more complicated than the grasshopper. Stripping these down is always pretty easy. That's quite seized up, that one, isn't it? Oh, yeah, crack. But I'd say, even in their rusted states, these Tamiya screws and washers and nuts and bolts all still, I have to say, come apart really rather smoothly, really nicely actually. They just need a clean up. Some of them I may replace. But really, testament to the quality. This, bear in mind, this car is around 35 years old. Presuming it's an original 89 version. It may have been sold a few years after that, I guess. I don't know how long they sold them for. But yeah, assuming this is from the very late 80s, we're looking at 35 years old. And not in bad shape, it must be said. Now, I always remember these being a pain in the backside because they had bolts. You couldn't put your box wrench on them. You had to use a little spanner, which I haven't got handy. I'm just using my finger as a spanner because they went in between the wishbones there. And it was a bit of a pain to take them off from memory. I seem to have managed it there. I've got to say, that doesn't feel too bad at all, given it's probably 35-year-old oil in there. Feels really good, actually. A lot better than some of the others I've done. Okay, what should I take off next? I think we'll take the wishbones off, top and bottom. They're very similar to the... oh no, more cracks are emerging. Doesn't want to do either, does it? Why is that not coming off? Come on. Oh, I see. We've got a crack in the chassis here. Not the chassis, in the mounting, which is what this screws into. You know, I always talk about... Let me try and zoom this in a bit so you can see what I'm talking about. So this screw here, this is cracked on the chassis, and this is what it screws into. Now, I'm always going on about finger tight. I use my fingertips on these Tamiya cars, and what I mean by that is when you hold a screwdriver, you're doing it like that with your fingers. Don't wrench it on like that. Use your fingertips, and if you can't do it any tighter with your fingers, that's tight enough. Because what you do is you end up cracking all the plastic because you completely over tighten everything, and it's just puts stress on the plastic parts. And I've got to try and now force this one off without slicing my finger open. This one really doesn't want to come off, which is going to be a pain, so I might have to take this off. Can we encourage it out? Come on. I just want to turn with it, don't you? That's going to be a major problem. So I'm going to have to take this whole section off, I think, which is a shame. And again, could have been avoided if people just won't over tighten things. I'll tell you what as well, I saw one of the social media groups that I follow for Tamiyas. It's the very excellent Tamiya Legend. I actually saw someone using an electric screwdriver to tighten all this stuff up on these. Don't do it. You don't need an electric screwdriver. You really don't need one. You will break stuff, and they just don't need to be that tight. Oh, look at the gunk in there. I need to release this anti-roll bar, I think. So yeah, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You don't need to over tighten the screws on these things. You really don't need to. And if you do, even if you get them tight without breaking anything, when they're on the car really tight, they just get stressed and stressed and stressed. There's no give in them. They will just stress themselves to the point of breaking, and you just wind up with a load of damage. Right, let's speed this up because I'm going to be here a while taking all this apart. I'm going to speed this up and then we'll have a look at it in isolation once it's off. Dismantle the gearbox around it and then put a bit of pressure on it to pull it off. Chances are it may actually just break off, but if we can avoid that, might be worth it because I don't really want to have to replace both gearbox casings, but we shall see. But time for the smaller of my two JS screwdrivers because I'm going to take this off, which is really stiff and dirty. And this is going to be the first glimpse of the gearbox. And the gearboxes on these are pretty good, pretty strong. I think I wore one out racing when I used to race mine. But that was probably because I probably didn't look after it quite as well as I should have done. And it could get a hammering. I don't think these feel really tight. These feel like new screws. So you know when you make a new Tamiya kit and the screws feel really tight? That's what these feel like, and the threads are so clean on them, even though I don't know if that's picking up on the camera, even though the screw heads are very dirty, the heads are lovely, the threads are lovely and clean. It's as though they've never been out, which chances are they haven't, which I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It could potentially mean that this gearbox could be quite filthy inside, so I'm just trying to get the lighting right on this so you can actually see what I'm doing. This section of the gearbox on these, and again, this is where they differ from the re-release. So this should, if my memory serves me correctly, unless mine had an upgrade when I bought it, because I did buy my original one second hand, these did have a thrust washer in this. This is where this is the transfer. This is the drive into the prop shaft. To take power to the front, and in here, and it is there, I can see it already. So ball raced, lovely, super clean. I mean, they're just like new. This is incredible, this car. and very old grease, which I'd expect, but the gears look in lovely condition and really clean. There's no grot or rubbish in there. Really nice. Now this is what I was talking about. This is actually the thrust washer. Let's zoom in a bit here. This section here is the thrust washer. So this is actually sandwiched between two washers, is like a little race set with little balls in. And the new one doesn't have this. It has some piece of crap plastic washer set in there, and they seem to, well, they allegedly you can buy it as a hop-up, but I've never seen one, or if you do, they're very hard to find and very expensive. Now what you can do is fit a standard 11 what do we call it, 1120, 1150 bearing, is it? I forget what size it is. You can put a standard ball race in there, but apparently the forces exerted on it means a thrust washer is a better bet. So yeah, I'm glad it's got it, and I'm tempted to put it in the other one if I could be bothered to take it apart and then fit a ball race in this one. But actually I may just fit a ball race in the other one. But yeah, that's good that it's still there. Again, that's a sign that this is an original car, and this is why the Terra Scorcher, despite what some people think, was really genuinely a cut above the Thundershot and the Fire Dragon. They didn't have all these nice pieces on them. They may have been, but some of them may have been ball raced, I'm not sure, but they didn't have a lot of these nice hop-up options on them and all the adjustable parts. So yeah, a really good car, the Terra Scorcher. And do you know what? One I would never really, just by chance I bought one, just happened to be, someone was selling one at the club. That's actually bent, look, that's had a hit. You see that's bent. Lovely and clean, but bent. So that's been punted at some point and bent. So I'd either probably straighten that one out or replace it. I might have one, I don't know. I have to say, all my screws from my original are nowhere near as good a condition as these, despite the grot and corrosion on the heads, which can clean off. The threads on these are beautifully clean, actually. So yeah, pretty pleased with this so far, and to be honest, expecting pretty much this is all to be expected, what we're seeing. I will look at gearbox casings for it. I don't really want to have to replace both. I kind of wanted to keep it as original as possible, and I didn't want to delay this build because I'm really pushed for time with these videos, as I've said in previous ones. I'm in the process of setting a business. I say in the process, I've set a new business up, and it's actually gone live now, and it's consuming huge amounts of my time as well as a full-time job. So yeah, I like to do lots of things all at the same time, but I do love making these videos, so I am going to continue. Now, from memory, the motor actually mounts inside the gearbox. No, it doesn't. It's on a motor plate, isn't it? Now, again, this is where the re-release has a new motor plate. And this is the original steel plate on this one. And the new one has a lovely, I think it must be CNC machined. It doesn't look cast, it looks machined. Like a machined alloy motor mount, which is really nice. It's a really nice bit of kit. But these original Scorchers had this steel motor mount, and really smart, because I don't know if that picks up on the camera. Can you see the markings on there? So it lets you adjust the mount to suit the pinion. That looks like a new pinion to me. I reckon that's had a new motor, possibly a new motor. Some Mabuchi in this, so it might be the original. Is that the original pinion? It might be the original pinion it came with. Either way, there's the dreaded grey crap in there from the aluminium pinion that they fit. They're really annoying. One thing I don't like with Tamiya. But the casing itself looks pretty good, bar the top suspension mounts. So I'm wondering if we can do something about that. I don't think we can. I may need new gearbox casing. What I'm really trying to do is get this screw out and it's really not wanting to go. Okay, so I managed to get it out, and actually it's this rose joint, or whatever you want to call it, ball joint, that's actually seized into here. Unfortunately, it was at the expense of the gearbox casing, which was cracked anyway. I've also some damage on the back here, which came apart when I took it apart. Not done by me, I hasten to add. It was already on its way out. It's not really worth repairing it, so I think we're going to get online and have a look for a new one of these. The gearbox is in surprisingly good condition. It's very clean inside. The spur gear appears to be in pretty good shape. Those teeth look pretty good, even though it's got all this horrible crap off the pinion. So this is the first time, I've got to be honest, I've ever had to, I'm going to apply some heat to this because it is well and truly seized in there. So this is like working on a real car. So I've got my micro blowtorch. I'm going to put the camera on the stand again, and we're going to try and heat it to release it, because I don't think I've got any spares of these, and they're not the easiest part to source. So I am going to try and save the part if I can. So let me just put this on the mount. We'll see if we can get it out. So this is, like I said, the first time I've ever had to apply some heat to a Tamiya part to release it. That's how seized up it is. I'm just moving that plastic out of the way so it doesn't melt. I mean, you can't see it probably on there, but I am actually just heating that up. The other thing that I'm slightly worried about is that there could be two different metals here. We've got steel and brass. I don't think that causes galvanic corrosion. I think that might be between steel and aluminium. I could be wrong, tell me in the comments. But I don't know if you can see on the camera there, that is smoking. And I've got my thin nose pliers that I use to fix brakes on cars. And I'm just going to, without damaging it too much, pull this off. Also try not to melt the spacer and damage the thread too much on here. Where's that coming? Yeah, that is starting to move. Okay, so the heat seems to have worked. I haven't damaged that too badly. A little bit more just to see what will come off. Right, let's see if we can get this to come off. There we go. There we go. Now that was properly. I'll drop my things on the floor. That was properly on there. Again, good lesson in lubricating these things. I think that will survive. I might just need to give it a little clean up. I'm not going to touch it too much. The plastic hasn't melted, that's always a bonus. And this little fella here, which my camera refuses to zoom in on, focus in on, and then get the light flicker. Thank you very much. There we go. That little fella there was well and truly seized onto this little fella here, which is still really hot. So there we go. Apart, but new gearbox casing. That is boiling hot still, so I don't know why I touched that. That's a bit foolish of me. Needs a good clean up. Those parts should survive. The gearbox casing sadly hasn't. So it looks like we're after two gearbox casings because the front is done as well by the looks of things. I haven't taken the gearbox apart yet, but again on the suspension mounts, they are prone to going on these old Tamiyas. You know, they do wear out. We've got a crack here, we've got a crack here, we've got a crack here, and we've got a crack there. So all the suspension and wishbone mounts are cracked. Or as I'd like to say, a word that begins with F and sounds a bit like duck with an ED on the end. So I'm not gonna fiddle around trying to fix these. It's just completely futile. We just need to source some more. So let's get online. I want to get them ordered because I want to get this car back together and running as soon as possible, really. Because you guys would like, well, I hope you guys would like to see some more videos. And without the bits, I can't put it back together. We can put a blind share of it back together. But without the gearbox casings, it's really going to slow us down because we can't really put anything together. But whilst I'm waiting for them to arrive, there's lots of restoration to do on the screws and stuff. Oh, come on, please just come out. So I'm going to have a look online in a moment. I'm just going to take this gearbox apart because I've done the other one. And once I've done that, we'll have a look online, see if we can find any gearboxes for a Terra Scorcher or a Thunder Dragon. Sorry, Thunder Shot. Thunder Dragon? Is there a Thunder Dragon? There probably is, actually. Fire Dragon is what I'm thinking of, and the Thunder Shot, and the Terra Scorcher, and possibly the Thunder Dragon, although that could be something else completely. Maybe I dreamed that one. I got a feeling there's 4 in the series. I know that there's 3, but I've got a feeling there's a 4th, and I can't think what it's called. I'll flash it up on the screen if I think of it. Or tell me in the comments. You may own one. Oh, don't drop the screws. There's another screw on the floor, but I know where it went, so that's fine. Part, that's original, isn't it? That's never been apart. It's quite dirty actually now. I don't know where that dirt's come from unless it's just dropped on it from when I took it apart. Big old heavy diffs in these. Useless as well. Not the best part of this gearbox. But actually, this is in really lovely condition. And another thrust washer, there it is. I really want them for my other one. I may swap them over, seeing as we've got to take the A5 part off. And this can just have a standard ball race in it. Right, aside from the original electrics, which I'm just going to leave in situ for now, there's loads to be getting on with, so I'm going to leave this part. And that really is the end of part 1. Filthy hands, filthy load of parts now to clean up. And let's just get online and order. I'm going to wash my hands before I touch my computer, but let's get online and order those gearbox casings if I can find any. Okay, so let's just see if we can find any. I usually go to TTP Models. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. Good place to go. They seem to have a lot of spare parts for Tamiya's. Tony's Tamiya parts it stands for. What have we got here then? We've got the wishbones, we've got the F-part hubs, we've got the damper stays. I don't think I need those. I will check though, because we can do it all in one order. We've got a new body shell, $29.99. There, see those ball collars, as they're known. The one I've just released, that's these parts here. Don't know if that's showing on the screen. £10.25 for 4 of those. So it's worth saving them if you can. Try not to damage them. B parts. What is B parts? Not really what I want. Don't think I need any of those. They're expensive. £12.47. That's reduced. Universal shafts. So these are original universal shafts. The new re-release kit comes with different ones. There's the new motor mount I was talking about. I don't know if you can see that. £20. Wow, ouch. And here are the A parts. So this is what we need. We need the gearbox casings. That's front and rear gearbox casings. A 5-part rear gearbox casings. I'm just having a look. So we get the A5 part, that's what we need, although I'm going to buy a metal one, I think. Do I need that upright? No, that has survived. Gearbox casings, so this is the rear gearbox casing here, and that's the front casing. We definitely need a rear one. And what was broken on the front? Do I need a front gearbox casing is the question before I order one. Yes, I do, because that's cracked there. Okay, so we get them anyway, so we need one of these. So that's £15. What other parts do I need? So that's the rear gearbox casing done. The front casing is cracked in 2 places, and the A5 part, which always cracks. Do you know what? I think that's all we need for now. And did we need the B parts? Are they cracked? Do you know what? I think it's survived. I think most of it survived, apart from the gearbox casings. Interesting. So we might get away with just ordering those. Oh, I'm going to have a little cruise on here as well, just to see if there's anything else we can buy. I don't want to, but we may need them. If I just see them, it may make me think, yes, we need some of those. Pinions, a hideous body part set for the Saint Dragon, and the equally hideous Super Storm, both hideous. I think we're coming out of Thundershock. Oh, chassis, that was the other one. Do we need chassis? £15 for a chassis as well. Now I'm just looking at the chassis off camera here. It is cracked in a couple of places, but I think we can get away with it. And I'd love to keep the original chassis if I can. Is it cracked anywhere else? It all looks okay other than that. I think we can live with the original chassis. I think we're just going to sandwich the cracks with some washers because they don't actually take the brunt. Incredibly rare adjuster set. Ooh, what's this? That would be what I already have. Incredibly rare, eh? Maybe I should sell the bits from this car. There we go. So quite a lot of parts. I wonder if they do the and a 3-step speed controller. Look at that, brand new, £20. You could buy an electric speed controller for that. And interestingly, this motor mount. This is the original steel motor mount. I don't know if you can see that. That is £6.99, and the new CNC machine one is £20. The UJs are sold out. They're £20, £40. Goodness me. And I'm not, TTP are not expensive. This is just standard pricing pretty much for all of these things. High cap set for £58.94. See, that's not bad price. They're brilliant shocks. Way out of my budget, unfortunately. I'm just having a quick look see if there's anything else we need. I'm going to have a spending spree. I'm actually not, because I think that's all we need. So I'm going to go and get those orders. I'm not going to give you my credit card details on this video. We're going to order the chassis parts. Sorry, gearbox parts. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and clean all of this. Maybe even the broken parts. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you like these videos. This car I was hoping to be quite straightforward rebuild, but it's already presenting problems to us. But it should go back together. Now this, to be clear, this one is not going to be really a runner. I will get it running, but I'm not going to run it much because it's fragile, it's old, and it's so lovely and original. It just deserves a lovely, nice retirement with a gentle run once in a while. And I'm actually going to use the original radiator gear because it's still in there. So if you like this, please like, please subscribe, and please comment. And I hope you join me on the second video of this where we'll do some cleaning up and putting back together. And the other thing I'm going to tackle is this very original body shell, which is actually in really not bad condition, I think it will clean up nicely. Hand painted as well. Do you remember when we used to hand paint body shells? Probably not. You're probably all younger than me. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, join me in part 2 and we'll try and get this old beast back together and running. So see you on the next one. Bye bye.